otherwise known as Paper Sweetpea, and I am a Creative Memories Independent Advisor here in Australia. Over the past few weeks, I've had many of you reach out to me and ask how I create a scrapbooking layout from a scrapbooking sketch. And I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to share with you all the process I go through following a sketch to create a layout. Everybody has different methods and different techniques, so I just thought that I would share the methods that I use. If you don't know what a scrapbooking sketch is, they will look a little something like this. So basically everything's laid out for you, telling you where to position everything, your photos, your title, and any decorative elements or journaling on your layout. They're a great way to complete beautiful pages quite quickly without having to think too much, because the design of the page is already done for you. If you're in search of some sketches, you will find many on the Creative Memories blog, as well as in the Creative Memories Virtual Crop Facebook group, where we hold a virtual crop usually once a month, and you can create lots of pages following sketches. Now, I would love for you to hit up the chat box today. I'm here to chat with you. I'd love to interact with you, so make sure you say hi. And if you have any questions at all about the process I'm using today or anything, just ask me and I'll do my best to answer for you. I'd also love for you to like this video and perhaps leave a suggestion on what I can film for you and share with you in the future. It really helps me as a creator to continue providing this sort of content for you. But let's get started. So obviously the first thing I needed to do was find a sketch that I wanted to work with. And I did this by hopping on the Creative Memories blog and just scrolling through past blog posts. And I came across a sketch roundup from January 24th to February 6th, 2022, and found this sketch that I thought I'd really like to work with. I really like the look of all these layers in the borders. I thought you could create a lot of interest on your page. So basically I've just printed it out and I'm going to have it on my desk here as my guide. I will link below this video the blog post so that you can check it out for yourselves as well. And I'm going to be working with the lovely Lullaby Lane collection. This is a baby themed collection, but there are lots of elements, you know, within this collection that if you don't have little ones or photos of little ones to scrapbook at the moment, it would still work great just for other themes as well. There are 3 beautiful designer paper packs, and I'm going to try and intermix and work with several of these from each pack. And I've got both packets of stickers as well as the embellishments. So I'll just lift these cover sheets out of the way, and I've already pulled just a few of my favourite papers that you can see there. But the first thing that I'll usually do with a sketch is just take a good look at it. You can create it exactly as you see it, and if you're just starting out scrapbooking, I think that's a great place to start. Just work on, you know, getting all of your elements together. As you gain confidence, or if you like to mix things up a little bit, which I like to do, you can sort of rearrange things with your sketch. Nothing's set in stone. So I'm actually today going to rotate this sketch because I really love the thought of having, you know, the borders running on either side of my layout. And I really thought I can create a lot of interest through this center section here. Now this is for a single page design, and I know a lot of you love double page layouts, so don't be scared, you know, don't think, oh, it's a single page, I'd prefer a double. You know, all you've got to do is create a mirror image of this page. So you don't have to think that, oh, I'm just limited to, you know, a single page for this. Use your creativity, and you know that you can just create one exactly the same but mirror image and you'll get your 2-page design. So basically the first thing I'll do is look at it, see how I'm going to make it work. I know I want to rotate it and have these borders to the side. The thing with sketches, you don't get measurements. Again, it's just like a template to help you piece things together to make things work for you. I can see that the borders don't run to the edge of the background page, so I know I need to cut them a little bit shorter. And this border is also slightly wider. Now, even though I've rotated it, I think I'm still going to keep it like that because I kind of like having both sides different. And again, there's no measurements on your sketch. It's all about guesstimation, as I like to say. I'm going to guesstimate my sizes. Now to do this, and again, this isn't set in stone, it's just to give me a rough idea. I like to use photo templates for figuring things out, and I've just cut these from white cardstock, and I've cut them to the size of, you know, the photo sizes I use the most. So I've got 3x4 here, I've got 4x4, I've got 5x3.5, and I've got 6x4, and I'll usually use these to see what's going to work best for me. So I could probably cut this border strip to be another 3 inches wide, and I would probably cut this piece to be 1.75 inches wide. Again, these can be adjusted, you know, to what suits you. It doesn't have to be exact. But I'm going to work with this beautiful stripe paper. It's one of my favorites. So I'm going to bring in my 12-inch trimmer with straight blade. And the first measurement cut will be 1.75 inches wide. Now, because I said I'm going to leave 1/4 of an inch here in that space between my photos and where the border's finished to the edge of my layout, then I know it's 1/2 an inch that I need to trim off the length of my border. So 1/4 of an inch for the top, 1/4 of an inch for the bottom, which will equate to 1/2 an inch. So just turn this sideways and cut 1/2 an inch. Now, if you didn't want to be working with these kinds of measurements, if you think, oh, that's just too hard for my brain today, by all means, you don't have to. You can run your border to the full width of your layout. It's still going to look beautiful. So make sure that you use these sketches to what suits your mood and how you're feeling about creating. So our second border strip will be cut to 3 inches wide. And again, I'm going to cut 1/2 an inch off the length of it there. Move that out of the way for the time being. And I can bring my wood grain in. I think I'm going to have the wood grain going crossways this way. And just using my cutting mat as a rough guide, I'm going to bring that in to approximately 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And you can see with that little bit we've trimmed off, it's just giving us a beautiful neat border. And the same for this strip. So that gives us a starting point for our design. So I've got the width of these 2 strips cut. And now again, if you'd like to check your measurements, by all means bring back in your little photo cards that are as a guide like I'm doing. And you can space these to make them work for you, which you can see that's going to fit beautifully. So before I go any further, I really want to create the little extras that are going to go onto these borders. And you can see that we've got some layered strips, some wavy edges as well. So we'll get those created first. And I think the first thing I'm going to do, with my 12-inch trimmer, I'm going to get the wave blade from the back there and just swap out my straight edge blade. So I'm going to add some contrasting pieces that have been cut with the wave blade. So I'm going to cut the first one probably, I'm thinking 3/4 of an inch. This is straight off the top of my head too, guys. So let's cut one. I'm thinking we can lay that here. I might switch back to my straight blade because I've already got the wave edge here. And I might cut this again randomly, let's say 1/2 an inch. So we've got that narrow strip. And just so I don't lose my blade, I'm going to slide that back into the trimmer board. I love how the trimmer board stores all of your creative blades to the back. So I've got a pink strip that I can add here, and another that I'd like to add there. Now it's showing us here that it also features some scalloped edges. Now there's different ways that you can add a scalloped edge. You could get your custom circle template, cut some circles and then cut your circles in half. But I'm going to show you an easier way, and this would have to be, I demonstrate this all the time, but it would have to be a technique I use all the time for creating scalloped edges. And what I'm going to do, I've selected a contrasting piece of paper and I'm going to trim 2 strips to be 1 inch wide. Like so. I'm going to switch out my straight blade for my scoring blade. So we don't want to cut these, we only want to score them for folding. So what I'm going to do is score each strip at 1 inch intervals all the way along. So just aligning that up to each inch increment and right along each strip. And I'm going to bring in my 2-way corner rounder, okay? And to start, I'm just going to align the edge of that strip in my corner rounder and punch. I'm going to find my score line and fold it, and the same thing, punch. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way along my strip until I've punched every corner on the fold. Okay, so that completes our 2 scalloped edges. So I'm going to start adhering these into place. First things first, just with my repo tape, I'm going to adhere this strip first. It's about, I guess you could say, building layers. Got different cuts, different widths, different colours, so they're all being layered together. And I'm just going to turn that over, and with my scissors just trim off that excess. Now with my scalloped edge, because I want my scallops to look as even as possible, I'm actually going to just make sure I've got the same amount of overhang on each side. So that way, you know, I know this is being really picky and fussy, but you know, if I'm starting with a full scallop, I'm going to only end with half a scallop. So I'm just going to let about 1/4 of that scalloped border overhang each side, so that way, you know, the starting and finish point for them looks exactly the same. It's all about the little details, I guess you could say. So when I'm happy, and I've just honestly measured that by eye, I haven't, you know, gone down to the millimetre or anything. I'm just going to add some repositionable tape now to the rest that I'm happy with the position, and adhere that down. And with my scissors, trim off that excess. Okay. Now, because we've already done one, it'll make the second one easy, right? So again, I'm bringing in my repositionable tape on my thinner strip. And I'm going to run that down the outside edge. And trim off the excess. This is where I'm going to look back to my sketch, and so I've got one border that the scallop's facing outwards, and then for this border I've added an extra piece, of course, but I'm going to flip my scallop and adhere it this way so that that's in place. A little crooked there. And then trim off the excess. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of extra colour to my borders. And I'm going to bring in this lovely green, and I've put back in my wave blade into my trimmer. And I'm just going to trim a really narrow strip because I want both edges of this first strip to have a waved edge. You can see there, both edges are wavy. I think I'm going to layer that over the top of that scallop there. And I want just a really, really narrow little strip for my other border. Again, I've probably cut that 1/4 of an inch, maybe a fraction wider. And I want this to be layered over the top. Making sure it's lovely and straight. And let's trim off that overhang again. I've sort of left a few millimeters on the side there. Make sure it's still nice and straight. You can see I've just left that little strip. I'm going to flip it and just trim it. Okay, so I've brought back in my background paper and my wood grain is running left to right there. And I'm going to align each border 1/4 of an inch from each edge. So you can see we've got a nice evenly spaced edge around those, which is exactly the same as, you know, what features here on our sketch. And I'd like to add an extra sticker to this wider border. So I think I'm going to use this lovely floral strip. I'll peel off. And the same as I did with my scallops, just so that I get it nice and even on each edge. I'm just going to let it overhang that little bit. So run that through the centre of that green strip. And I've left just a little bit of overhang on each side because the edge of this border strip is curved. So that it will be the same, I can just trim that off straight. And a little bit of repo tape to hold one edge. And then I can fold it back into place. So that's one border strip. And we're going to align that second. And if you were a bit wild with your repo tape like I was, you can see there by just running my finger on the paper, removes it instantly. This is why I love using repositionable tape. Okay, so we've got our 6 1/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch mat in the center there. I've cut 2 3 inch by 3 inch and 2 3 inch by 4 inch. And when I placed everything, in order to get it even, I just had to make those spaces just slightly more narrow there in the center, which is okay because you can see on your sketch too the same thing's been done. You've got less space between these two than you have along this edge here. So it's about making it work to be as practical as possible for you. So I'm actually going to go ahead and adhere these all in place. Okay, so they're now all in place. I've actually pulled these two cards out because I actually really liked the print of this one, and I love the heart and the little saying. And I actually measured with my little ruler, and this would fit within one of the squares. And I'm going to fussy cut the heart out. Just going to very carefully got our heart. Now I'm going to bring back in my trimmer. Move my page out of the way. Now again, I know that these are 3 inches by 3 inches, and I always like to have a 1/4 inch border. So that tells me that I need to cut this square out at 2.75 by 2.75. So this will be a little bit of guesswork at getting it even. I've got a little bit of extra space at the top, but that's okay. I've got a plan for that. There's a reason for that. So I'll just bring that back in, and I'm going to trim down this card, which I love. Now this photo mat here was 3 by 4, so to keep a 1/4 inch border, I know that I need to trim it 2.75 by 3.75, and I think I want these lines going this way. So on the opposite corner, I'm going to add that there with my little heart. I'm going to add just one of these cute little rainbow border stickers. I'm going to add to the top there, here down. Same for our stripy card here. Now this would be perfect for journaling on, this card, if you like. I'm just going to use it as an accent. I'll adhere that on a slight angle like so. And I really love this camera sticker, but because I want to build dimension, I'm just going to add a foam square to the back. And I really like this little quote sticker down the bottom here. Little moments, big memories. And again, I'm going to use some foam squares to build that dimension. I think these little stars here on this sticker sheet, these little stars here remind me of like a camera flash. So I'm just going to add a few little camera flashes there, if you like. Okay, so I've printed my photos and I've added my full-size photo to this center frame because, again, remember we've left that 1/4 inch or so border. And I'm going to need to trim down these two photos. So I think I'm going to have this as the smaller up the top and the cute little footsie photo down the bottom. So for the bottom photo mat, because the photo mat is 3 inches by 4, we know we need to trim this to 2.75 to 3.75. So I'm going to take off that edge there. and measure to 2.75. I might just trim that in just a little closer. And it's just the right width, which is perfect. And we need 3.75. So I'm going to take just a little from the top and bottom to keep the photo centered. Subject matter centered, I should say. Like so. So for those top squares, this needs to be 2.75 by 2.75. Again, I'm going to trim a little off this side. Now to finish, I think I'm just going to add this cute little clock just in support to our little quote card there. If I bring back in our sketch design, so we've started, well actually we started with this, which we've rotated, and that produces our finished result. So there we have it, friends, all finished. From this, we've achieved this. And I really hope you've enjoyed seeing the process of how I create from a sketch today. Again, make sure you leave a comment and like this video to let me know what you'd like to see in the future. If you live in Australia and you'd love more information on the wonderful Creative Memories products, or perhaps becoming an advisor yourself, all of my details are below. If you live in the USA or Canada, I have some wonderful friends who are fantastic advisors who I would love to get you in touch with to help you start your paper loving journey. Thank you for watching today, and I will see you all next time. Bye.